Alright, thanks for joining us again. As always, if you would like to, please go ahead and subscribe. We're going to go ahead and today do something a little different. We're going to talk about some of the cards that came out in this new set. And while we're talking about these cards, we're mostly talking about, like, if you should get them. A lot of these cards are on here because of their cost. A lot of them are pretty cheap, and if you want them in your collection, I would suggest getting a lot of the cheaper ones now. I will try to state the price of each card as I go over it, as they are sitting right now on TCG Player. Other than that, in the back of my mind, I always think that I'm going to play this game for a long run, so I like to collect the cards, especially when they're cheaper, rather than when they get more expensive and people start to play them, if they get played a lot. But if they're like 40, 70, 80 cents, or even anything underneath like $2. Like I usually, if it's decent enough, I would probably get a playset of it. If not, I'd probably get two of it. But that's just me. You do you. You know, I'm just gonna mention a couple cards and just state where they're at right now. Another thing, a lot of the showcase cards are cheaper than what they were like 3-4 days ago. So if you're into cards that are really like kind of pretty, artsy, and all that stuff, it would probably be a good idea to look at them. They're like not that more expensive than a regular card right now for some reason. Don't really know why, but if you're into that, I would get them too. Another thing I would probably, if you're just trying to make your deck look even more fancy, the Theros lands, or to me they look pretty nice, and they're really not that bad. Most of them average around 50 cents. Some of them are about $1 a piece, but the ones that are 50 cents, if they're in your colors and maybe your EDH deck or something of that matter, I would definitely pick up a couple of those lands. But the first card we're going to talk about, and I'm not going to talk about some cards too long, just because a lot of other creators have talked about them enough. I would just probably like to mention them. But the Shadow Spear, it's really good. It still is a little pricey, sitting around $5 still. But if you think you're gonna, honestly, like even if you don't know if you're gonna play it or not, I would still get at least a copy or two. It's just a really good artifact. But like I said, do what you gotta do. The one cost to make permanents lose hexproof and destructible is really good. Equipping it for 2, it costs 1, so equipping it for 2 isn't too bad, but it gives the creature +1/+1, trample, and lifelink, and that really sets it that a lot of decks that couldn't have lifelinking before now can if they put this in their sideboard for more of the aggressive matchup, which is very important. Lifelink helps. Red main idea is to make you lose life as fast as possible. If you could gain life in any way, I think it just slows red down a lot. Next card we're going to talk about is this human wizard, which I will probably pronounce his name wrong. Protein Thaumaturger. Yeah, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. But this guy's still pretty decent. If you're playing a enchantment deck, I would be running him. He's the constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may have this creature become a copy of another target creature except it has this ability. So a copy of another target creature, so it could become a copy of a creature your opponent controls as well. It doesn't have to be a creature you control. It's 2 costs. It's pretty much a 2 cost copy. It's just really good. If you can make this into a copy of a 7, 6, even a 5 cost creature, that's still really nice in my opinion. And what's really making me mention this card is that it's just at about 34 to 35 cents. It's a decent card, and I would still, like me, I have an enchantment in each deck, so I'm definitely going to get at least 2 copies of it, maybe 3. It's at 35 cents. I don't really have the argument of not getting it. Next card we're going to talk about is Thassa's Oracle, and we're not going to talk about her that long just because a lot of people are playing like that mono blue devotion deck, so she's probably been talked about enough already. But she's still a good card to at least get slightly mentioned. With her ETB, it basically Enters the battlefield, get the top X cards of your library, where X is your devotion to blue. Put up to one of them on top of your library and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. I like her just for that win the game feature. There's not a lot of cards that just say win the game. And when they are out there, I would definitely get them. What was it? The Second Son or something like that. When that was out in standard, it was getting played a good amount. So this card is probably also going to get played. I believe it was the Approach of the Second Son. It still isn't too bad. It's about at $3.05 right now. Again, all my prices come from TCG Player. So it's still a really, really good, card with a win condition. Underworld Breach, if you haven't known, now you know. It has so much potential, so much into it. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice Underworld Breach. Still, it allows you to do so much, especially if you have the cards in your graveyard and the mana. It allows you to recur so much, and I think it's just gonna see play somewhere. No matter what you do, it's gonna see play somewhere. It's that good of a card where someone's gonna find a way to break it. It's pretty averagely cost. Might as well call this $5 right here. It was a little cheaper. I got my copies for like $4 even. So it is going up a little bit. Next, we're going to talk about the Lion. If you're playing a form of enchantments in your deck, or just like he's still a good creature even if you're not, given that 2 mana. So what he says is you can pay a green and a white. Bronze Lion gains death touch until end of turn. When he dies, return it to the battlefield. It's an aura enchantment with enchant creature you control. And you can pay the green and the white, enchant the creature gains indestructible until end of turn, and lose all other abilities. So it's still it's good. It protects itself, and it can protect something else when it dies, coming back as an aura. And it's sitting at about 62 cents, which I think is really good for rare. I would pick it up if I knew that my deck was going in this direction. I would pick it up myself. Next card we're going to talk about, which we're definitely not going to talk about that long, is Heliod Sun Crown. I'm not really going to cover him that much. He's mostly on here because he's dropping in price. He was like a couple of days ago, I saw him, he was like 25, 26. Now he's averagely around 18-30. So that's why he was on here. Idyllic Tutor. If you, again, are playing enchantments, a Tutor is a nice card. It's a reprint. I didn't have one in my collection, so I'm definitely going to get one myself. Because, again, I do have a EH deck, which would probably like it. Have to see if I actually have space for it or not. But it's sitting around at $4.54. Will it go down more? I don't know. I already think $5 for a Tutor is really good. But that's just me. It might. I have no idea. The Nerder Kraken. Again, I'm not going to act like I'm going to pronounce these cards correctly. So just be advised of that. But this guy, 3 cost, 2/3. Whenever you draw a card, you may pay 1. If you do, put a ++1 counter on Nerder Kraken and create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature. So your deck just draws a lot of cards off the regular. Adding this in there probably would be a great idea, and one of the big reasons he's on here is because his cost. He's sitting at about $1.41. Again, if you could find a deck that naturally just draws a lot, this could probably fit in there pretty well. We're gonna go to the next one, which we're going to Thirst for Meaning. This one, it's 3 cost, instant speed, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an enchantment card. Even if you weren't, it's nice to hold up that mana, instant speed, draw 3 cards, discard 2 cards, still getting that 1 card advantage, even if you don't play a lot of enchantments. If you're trying just to fill up your graveyard, it's still not bad, because again, holding up your mana is really good, especially if you're already playing blue. Maybe you're playing counter spells, maybe you're playing some kill spells. So I do like the instant speed action of it, and again, the cost is really why it's on here. It's sitting at 16 cents, which is again really nice. The card could see play somewhere. It's not the best card, but it's still decent enough to get mentioned. Now we're gonna go to Whirlwind Denial. Whirlwind Denial is in here mostly because what it does is really, really nice, and I love the flavor text on it, which says no, no, and no. I just love it. 3 costs, instant speed for each spell and ability your opponents control. Counter it unless a controller pays 4. So for each one, your opponent has to pay 4. 4 mana. That's just pretty much saying, oh, you're catching that Ulamog, those cast triggers, everything I can stop with 3 mana, and that is why it's on here. I think, like if I was playing Pioneer a lot, which I do play, and I did order like 4 copies of the thing because it's really cheap. It's definitely gonna go on my sideboard. Probably not the main, but definitely my sideboard, because those cast triggers are very hard to stop sometimes. There's like Summary Dismissal, which does the same thing in a relative way, but it does it a little bit better. It actually just counters everything. You don't get the option to pay, but it does cost 4, while this costs 3. So that is pretty much about it. The cost of this card is at about 25 cents, which is really good. $1 and you get 4 copies. The Woe Strider. This guy, he is on here because of what he could potentially do. There's not a lot of things that just let you freely sack a creature. You don't have to pay any mana. You don't have to tap a creature, and that's why it's really in here. Is for that sack. Getting that goat, whatever. The escape cost, it could be meaningful somewhere, especially if it's your main sack outlet. You could get it back. And then it comes back with 2 additional counters on it. But it's mainly here because of that sack. Freely sacking creature is why this card is getting mentioned. And the price isn't that bad. It's sitting at about $135, which is pretty good. Pretty good to sit at that price and have this option. I don't really know if it's going to be getting played in Standard, but eventually in Pioneer it's going to fit somewhere. Somewhere probably in Pioneer. I think Modern has better options, better to low cost options, but Pioneer, it just might find a home somewhere in there. Next card we're going to talk about with Annex, and if you haven't seen the deck I made earlier, using pretty much it's pretty much a Junfu deck, but running more red options. The Annex is very good. That engine that was already built in the Junfu deck with the Witch's Oven and the Cat Familiar already lets you sack a creature, and every time you're doing that now you're getting a 1/1 Satyr. So it's just very nice. I like it, the idea behind it. So I that's why it's getting mentioned on here, and also the price is very good, sitting at about 15 cents. I'm gonna make sure I order a playset, at least. I think it's gonna be a decent card to find somewhere. I mean, and also, like, even if you're not doing that, if your opponent board wipes, you get a whole bunch of 1/1s to swing with. I think where he really fits is a deck that uses Cavalcade, just because all you 1/1s, these 1/1s can't even block anyway, so they might as well be attacking. That's where I think it fits. Any deck that pretty much runs the Cavalcade, and wants to have that insurance of, yeah, you playing that board wipe, cool, I get 1/1s anyway. It's pretty nice. Next we're going to talk about Phoenix of Ash. Now, when we mention this card, I don't really know if it's gonna see play or whatnot, but the card itself isn't sitting at a bad price. It's about at $1.20. It is 3 costs, 2/2 flying haste. You can pay 3 mana and give it +2/+0 to end a turn. Escape is 4 mana, exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. Phoenix of Ash escapes with +1/+1 counter on it. For me, I like it just because it kind of could fit into an arc-like Phoenix deck, almost, which is the best thing I think is going to fit at, if it fits anywhere in Standard, would probably be that, because just in case you throw it through the graveyard, you have nothing better to do, you can still at least do this ability, which is still pretty nice, getting a flyer out there and still attacking your opponent. And if not, the 3 mana to get it, get it on the battlefield still isn't bad either. Dealing that constant 2 damage. I think it's still kind of averagely decent. It's not broken, really, but it's still decent. The next card we're going to talk about is Storm Herald. Now, this guy, he's really on here because his price tag is pretty decent. Sitting at about 40 cents, which is really good. He has haste. When Herald enters the battlefield, return any number of aura cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to creatures you control. Exile those auras at the beginning of your next end step. If those auras would leave the battlefield, exile them instead of putting them anywhere else. Now, if you're playing a deck that just runs a lot of auras, this sounds like a way just to be like, I win now or not. It's one of those big gambles. Like, you're hoping to win on this turn with this guy. It's my assumption. I think he would definitely see play, and at 40 cents, there's not really a lot of reason to deny him the ability to get in your collection. So that's my take on it. Is 40 cents. I still would want 2 copies of this guy. My enchantment deck isn't based around red, so you probably wouldn't see a lot any play in any of my decks probably, but still having the option later down the road still is good. We're gonna go ahead and go to the next card, which is the Dryad. It's 3 costs, 2/4 enchantment creature nymph. This card I already ordered like probably 2 or 3 copies of it myself, just because to me, I think it's a really good card. And the price did drop on it quite a bit, because when I ordered it was like at 10 or 11 bucks, and now it's sitting at about at $8, which is really good. If you haven't already gotten some, it might be a good idea to get some, might not. It depends on you, but the ability it has is pretty much a chromatic lantern effect. And then also being able to play an additional land each turn, it just sounds really good. I'm not sure what deck it would fit into. I do play it in my Bant enchantment deck, just because it's really nice that when I'm drawing all these cards, if it's out there, I can play 2 lands a turn instead of 1, which is really nice. Other than that, though, it's probably going to go in some EDH decks of mine for sure. That's probably why I'm going to order like at least 4 copies of it, because I definitely think it's a nice card. I really do. We're going to go ahead and go to the next card, which again we're not going to talk about because there are like so many decks with this card in it. This Tessin Champion. If you're playing enchantment decks in Standard, you're probably playing this card. If you're not, I'm going to look at you a little funny. If you're playing enchantments, you should be playing this card. It's just the draw power, the constant +1/+1 counter get bigger and bigger and bigger. And another reason why we're mentioning this isn't because 1,000 other people did already, is because it's still pretty cheap. It's still at $1.81, which I think is deserving of getting a couple copies if you're planning on playing enchantments in Standard. Even if you're not playing enchantment Standard, it still is a good constellation effect in Pioneer if you're going to play a lot of enchantments Pioneer, or if you want to just add another one of the like enchantress effects in your enchantment deck. It's really good. It's definitely going in my enchantment deck. So yeah, this Hound, I'm probably just gonna get about 2 or maybe 3 copies of it, because again, it is legendary, but it just has so much slapped on it, so much hate towards graveyards, that it's probably gonna be good. It's probably gonna be good somewhere. Not sure where. I haven't really played against a lot of escape decks that much. I don't really think escape is that fearful right now. Maybe no one has cracked an escape deck yet that really works very well. I mean, that's the reason, but if it does pop off and does become good, we could definitely see this Hound in a lot of sideboard, or even in some main decks. Again, the 3 cost, 3/3, Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink, creature in graveyards can't enter the battlefield, players can't cast spells from graveyards. It's just really good. Really good. The cost of this is right now sitting at about $1.50. I think it's pretty good to get mentioned on here. Next thing we're going to talk about is the Sun's Grace, which is very, I didn't think I was going to talk about it. It really got on this list mostly because of the cost of a card. It's still rare, and it's like dirt cheap. It's like 60 cents. And if you're, again, this is the Theros, so a lot of cards are built around enchantments. If you're playing enchantments, again, so like I said, it's like 17 times. You're gonna maybe want to play test with this card a little bit and see if you like it or not. I'm not sure. I haven't tried the card out yet myself. I might try it out in a standard deck, might not. But if you're playing enchantments, play with it, see if you like it or not. Worst case scenario, it's a decent enough card, averagely, to just be in your collection. At worst case scenario. The next thing we're going to talk about is Shatter the Sky. And the main reason we're talking about this card, because, again, with a lot of things, a lot of people have already talked about this card. It's a 4-cost board wipe, for the most part. But it does have some other words to it that probably make people be wary of it. 4 costs. Each player who controls a creature with power 4 or greater draws a card, then destroy creatures. For the most part, in standard, it's still pretty good to play this card. 4 costs is really good to get that early game board wipe out instead of 5 costs. Because sometimes, you're just unlucky and probably won't get that 5th land in time to save yourself. So, 4 costs is still pretty good. And again, the main reason why it's getting mentioned is because it's at $1.33. At $1.33, 4 cost board wipe. $1.33. I think it's a good card. If you're gonna play standard, you should probably get a couple copies of the card. If you're not playing standard, you could probably live without it. I'm still gonna get a couple just because 4 cost board wipes are nice. So I'm probably still gonna get about 2 or 3. About 2 or 3 for me. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and go to the next card, which we're actually going to Ashiok's Erasure. This card is like most of the cards that I have mentioned so far, is getting mentioned because it's at a really decent cost. It really is. We're sitting at about 60 cents per card on this one. 4 mana, flash, enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exile target spell. Your opponent can't cast spells with the same name as the exiled card. When Ashiok Erasure leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to its hand. So it's really decent. It's really decent. It can help you with your blue devotion to all those mono blue devotion decks. And it does answer things. And when it answers them, they can't repeat that card until it leaves the battlefield. So if you hit Hilliard, I mean, they're not playing another one until they try to banish and light it. I had a game where I got Hilliard. They tried playing Banishing Light, and then I played another Erasure to get the Banishing Light, and they were just like, yeah, scoop. So yeah, it's definitely a decent enough card. Sitting at 60 cents, I would probably say about 3 copies is all you ever need. But again, to each their own. Do what you must. The next card we're going to talk about is Thassa Deep Dwelling. I'm loving this Thassa. I really am liking her a lot. I play Risen Reef a lot. If you haven't if you haven't noticed, I play Risen Reef a lot, and this is just like almost an include in a lot of my Risen Reef deck. I even made a deck really focused around her where I'm playing 3 copies of her just to steal things. Because like with her ability, you can just permanently take things. We have Claim the Forspoon. We have Act of Treason. We have the what is it? I want to say the name was like the Crone War. So you have a lot of things that say you gain control of target creature while until on a turn. And then her ability, you blink it back and it comes back underneath control. It no longer is chained to that spell. So it's really nice. And having the tap another creature clause, it isn't bad. I never actually had to use it. I mostly play it for the Conjure Closet effect. But it being indestructible, being 4 costs, makes it very playable if you're trying to abuse ETBs or just taking creatures with the cards I mentioned earlier. The cost of it is still pretty up there. It's sitting at about $17, but it's one of those cards where, as I mentioned, the showcase copy is not that much more expensive than it. So keep that in mind. Let's go to the next card. We're gonna go to Eat to Extinction. Now this one I don't know if it's really going to see a lot of play in Standard. Don't know. Can't assume I do. But it does remind me a lot of Vraska's Contempt, which did see a lot of play a while ago. But we have so many good, just anxious threats. We still have Bedevil. We still have Assassin's Trophy. We still have a lot of answers to that. The Murderous Rider. So I don't know if this is actually going to see play or not. That Exile, though, is very important. Especially that now we got these indestructible gods lying around. And the, I want to say the lion that I mentioned earlier, I think it was a Bronze Hide lion, gives creature indestructibility. So it's really nice to get around that indestructibility. But still at 4 mana, it still is a little much. But if you're really worried about indestructibility, it can be a sideboard piece. Definitely can be a sideboard piece. And then you may put the card into your library. You get to look at the top card of your library and put that card into your graveyard. So it also kind of feeds your graveyard a little bit to help you escape. Technically, after this resolves, goes to your graveyard. This, and if you put the top card of your library in your graveyard, that's 2 cards in your graveyard. That isn't bad, and you also got to exile a creature or planeswalker. It's sitting at about 150. So it's not bad. Not bad. We're going to go ahead and go to the Nightmare Shepherd. Nightmare Shepherd has been rolling around a lot, and he's a pretty good card. That's why he has been getting talked around. He's probably mostly getting played in probably mono black decks. He also could see play in just a lot of other decks that include black, though. I mean, that ability to, whenever another creature, non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1, it's a nightmare in addition to its other types. So, if you're playing creatures with just good static abilities, pretty decent. You get to keep those abilities around the table a little longer. If you're playing creatures with ETBs, pretty decent. You get to re-trigger those ETBs if they die. So it's just really nice. In my opinion, it's really nice. It's sitting at about let's say 360. It's sitting at about 360. So it still, to me, is a very decent card, and it's also an enchantment. So here we're gonna go to Storm's Wrath. This card is getting mentioned mostly because of its cost. It's sitting at a really good cost. It is 4 costs, red, sorcery, speed. It deals 4 damage to each creature and each planeswalker, and it's at about 80 cents. Still, I think it's really decent. And yeah, it's just a 4 cost board right for red. I do wish that maybe it was like a mana. Maybe it was a 3 cost. That's something that I think would have made it see a lot more play. Or stay at 4 and deal more damage. Because a lot of planeswalkers, if you don't neg them, they're way above 4. Probably at 6 or something like that. Unless they're the mini ones. Next, we're going to go to Tectonic Giant. This one's getting mentioned because, again, mostly for the cost. Um, it's about at $1 a piece. $1 a piece for this guy. If you could find a deck that could really use him and abuse him, um, I think he could see a decent amount of play. The only problem is that his trigger only happens when it attacks or becomes the target of a spell. So it is a little sad that's it. I kind of wish it was more of ETB whenever it attacks, kind of. At least you get one trigger off of it. But it is what it is. I still think it needs an honorable mention. The Clone War, uh, really good. I think as a forward costing saga, it does what it needs to do. Gain control of target creature for as long as you control Clone War. Until your next turn, creatures your opponent control attack each combat if able. 3. Each tap creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. So I really do like it, and it is getting played. Oh, I do run a one of in my Facet deck that's just built around stealing other creatures. And it's at about 30 cents a piece. So at 30 cents a piece, I definitely think it deserves a spot in your collection. If you don't already own one, that is. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next card. This one's now a keen-eyed. Very, I don't know, a lot of the gods could see some play somewhere, I believe. I think a lot of them could see play somewhere. Um, of course, it's indestructible, 4 cost, 5/6, is an enchantment. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. The ability of paying 3 mana, roll the top card of the library. If it's a creature card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it into your graveyard. I don't think this is going to see a lot of play in Standard, but it could see play in some EDH decks. Could. There's not a definite yes or definitely no. I think for me, I'm good with just maybe 2 copies. Maybe 2 copies, maybe just 1 of this card. Just so I could have it. It's sitting at about $4.30. Calyx Destiny's Hand. When it comes to this guy, I think he's really decent. If you build around him enough, he's getting you a card draw. Like, not really card draw, but he's putting a card into your hand that's an enchantment. So if you play a lot of enchantments, he's really good. Again, he's probably going to see play in enchantment EH decks, probably going to see play in some standard enchantment decks. He also has a bit of removal in him. If you neg 3 exile target creature or enchantment you don't control until target enchantment you control leaves the battlefield. That neg 3 is pretty nice. It can get rid of gods, it really can. So, Calyx Destiny Hand, pretty sweet, sitting at about $4.10. I think he's not bad. And then the neg 7, return all enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yikes. If you have been playing a long game and he has been going up and down, and some of your enchantments have went to the graveyard, it's really decent. Really decent. We go to the next card. Enigmatic Incarnation. This card, I'm not going to go over it a lot. But it's on here because it's really cheap. I already ordered my copy. When I ordered my copy, it was like at 40 to 50 cents. Now it's towards a little bit of 70 cents. But it's still decent enough where I would probably want it in my collection. I probably would. At least a 1 of. Me, I'm probably going to do 3 ofs. But I think it deserves a spot in a collection. It definitely can take the spot somewhere. We're going to go ahead and move to the next one. Nyx Lotus. Nyx Lotus is decent enough. It's getting played in the mono blue devotion deck a lot. 4 costs, legendary artifact, Nyx Lotus enters the battlefield tap. Tap, choose a color, add an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. So it could just gain you a lot of mana really fast. And if your deck already plays ways to untap it, even better. I think that it's a good card. I'm probably gonna get about $3. It is a little on the more average cost, seeing about $5.40. So it does cost a little bit, but it's good. It's good, especially if you build around with the idea of untapping it a lot. Next, we're gonna go to Elspeth, Conquers Death. This card, it's kind of on here because of its cost for the most part, sitting at about 72 cents. And it can definitely see play in any EDH deck that could just bounce it up and down, up and down. The first and third triggers are really the best part, but if you could just abuse that first ability, I'm good with that. Exiling target permanent and opponent controls with converted mana cost 3 or greater. The second ability is a meh. For me, it's a meh. Non-creature spells your opponent controls cast cost 2 more to cast until your next turn. Meh. 3 though, return target creature with planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield, put a ++1 counter or a loyalty counter on it. So, like I said, the one in the third stage of the saga is where it's really at. If you keep bouncing it up and down, you can really abuse that first stage though. The next card we're going to talk about is Gravebreaker Lamia. Now, she is in here for a lot of reasons, mostly because of her cost, and because I do just want to fool with her a little bit in my EDH deck. I do have a Muldrotha deck where it could be okay. It could be okay. It's not really all that great. Needed a little bit more power to it, I think, for it to be great. If it like made spells from my graveyard cost 2 less, I'd think, oh yeah, this is great. This is what I really want. But just 1 less and putting a card into my graveyard from my library and lifelink at 5 mana is just really a lot. But that's just my opinion. I'm probably gonna be good with just 1 copy of her. Honestly, maybe I'll get 2 because she is sitting at like 34 cents. So there's not really a lot of reasons to not own her. So about 2 cards for me. For her would probably fit into my deck. Another card we're going to talk about here would be Theros. This guy is just, he's decent. 5 costs, legendary enchantment creature, indestructible. Other creature control have haste. Devotion red, less than 5, isn't a creature. You can pay 3 mana into him. You put a red creature, remember that now, red creature card, or an artifact creature card from your hand on the battlefield, sacrifice at the beginning of your next end step. He has the ability to bring really big things out and swing with them. And because he could only bring red creatures or artifact creatures, I recommend using a lot of red creatures, just so you can get the devotion up. Him and those creatures can swing on the same turn if you could put like maybe 2 creatures out for his ability. Because it is 5 mana to get it out there. So if you drop another land, you're at 6, so you can activate its ability twice. It is kind of a game ender push almost. There are some ways to use it where it's not about ending the game, but I think that's mostly applying to longer formats than standard, probably EDH. And maybe some modern Pioneer. But he's really good. I like him. I did build a deck around him, and he's decent enough, especially if you play the right cards around him. He's sitting at about $6.10, so I would definitely think that this is a card to add to someone's collection. Nyx Bloom Ancient. Now, a lot of people already know this card, so I'm not going to spend that much time on it at all. It's really on here because it did drop in price recently. It was like at 18, 17 bucks. Now it's going down towards 13, so maybe now is around the time to pick it up if you haven't already. Erebos Intervention. This card is in here because I have a couple interventions in here actually. A lot of them are in here because they're flexible. They really are, and that flexibility allows a lot of cards to get played in different formats and for different reasons. 1 black, X, instant speed. That's another thing, instant. Choose 1. Target creature gains XX until end of turn you gain X life. You're dealing with the threat and you're gaining life at the same time. And another important thing is to remember that XX can take care of indestructible creatures. The other mode exiles up to twice of X cards from graveyards. If you're playing against a deck that uses their graveyards a lot, it's really good. That flexibility of dealing with a threat or taking out graveyards is what makes it might see a lot of play. Flexibility is a sexy thing in Magic. These are cards, but flexibility is still nice. So it's probably still going to see play. It's sitting at about 75 cents. Definitely deserves some spots in some collections. Again, I played it. I have a couple of the interventions in here. Same reason is the flexibility is nice. Being able to destroy artifacts and enchantments per X is really nice. If you do it for 6 in total, you get to destroy 4 artifacts for enchantments. Or you could just gain twice the life. You can gain 8 life, which is decent enough. I do kind of wish that it was, instead of being 2 white, it was just 1 white, but it is what it is. It's sitting at about 59 cents. Could see play somewhere. Thassa's Intervention. Again, it's really the flexibility of a lot of these cards that are letting them be in this video, and their costs. They're not that expensive yet. A lot of them are at instant speed. This one's 2 blue, 1 X. You get top X cards your library, up to 2 of them into your hand, and the rest to the bottom of the library in a random order. Or counter target spell unless you control pays X. That first ability where you get to look at top X cards and put 2 of them in your hand, that sounds like a dig through time effect. Right? Dig through time, drawn from dreams, whatever you want to call it. It's a good effect. Being able to also be a counter spell. Are you telling me I can run a draw spell and a counter spell in 1 card? Nice. Nice. I like that. The price of it is sitting at $1.02. I think it's a card that's worthy of being into some collections. That's pretty much it, though. I think I covered a lot of the cards that I wanted to cover, pretty much, because I thought they were decent enough to see play in some formats, or they just dropped price, or they're just really cheap. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching as always. Hope you enjoyed. Maybe I helped you look at some cards, or talk about some cards that maybe you forgot now that the spoilers are all done. Sometimes you just forget about certain cards. Hopefully I covered enough. I think that one more card I meant to cover, I kind of forgot because it is a land, is this Labyrinth. It's really cheap right now. And if you build a deck that could untap its land a lot, let's say with Wilderness Reclamation or the Prophet. If you're playing Pioneer, you can also play Prophet or Crucifix in there. Untapping your lands, doing what you do normally in your main phase, and then having an option to do this ability on your opponent's turn will just help slow things down a lot more if you're just trying to survive. I think it's a great card. It's not legendary, so you can play 2 or 3 copies if you're not worried about color fixing too hard. It does add a mana to your. It does still create a colorless mana. I think it's really good. Removing a target attacking or blocking creature from combat is good. It's good. Your opponent's gonna have to swing with multiple creatures instead of swinging with just one big old creature. It's sitting at about 40 cents. And now I'm done. Alright guys, have a good one. Thank you for watching.